The galaxy held its breath. For days after the battle near Raltor, silence stretched across the stars. The Zarathian Empire was restless. They had suffered unexpected losses, and more importantly, they had felt an unfamiliar weight, the weight of doubt. Their soldiers whispered about the humans, their laughter, and their fearlessness. No one could answer the question that haunted every mind. How can they laugh when facing the Empire? Emperor Kalinar paced the central hall of the Spire of Command. The golden light of his crown reflected in the polished floor. His advisors surrounded him, speaking rapidly, offering strategies, fleets, and numbers. Yet the Emperor heard only one thing: the echo of laughter, carried from the previous encounters in every report, every sensor, every memory. "They defy logic," one admiral said, bowing low. "They should fear us. They should break under the weight of our fleets. Yet they do not. They laugh, and it spreads. Our soldiers begin to doubt." The Emperor's gaze hardened. "Then we will bring all of it to bear. The Grand Fleet. Every ship, every weapon, every soldier. We will crush them so completely that laughter cannot survive." "Even then, sire, their courage is unlike anything we have seen," another officer said cautiously. The Emperor ignored him. "Prepare the fleet. No mercy, no hesitation. We end this." Far away in the human fleet, Admiral Marcus Hale prepared his crews. Their ships were scarred, some still limping from the previous fight, but their resolve was unbroken. On the bridge of the Resolute Dawn, Hale studied the stars with sharp eyes. "They will come with everything," Commander Lin said. "All their ships. All their power. They will try to crush us," Hale nodded, "and we will meet them. We will fight. But remember this: we do not fight with fear. We fight with spirit. And when the galaxy tries to crush our hearts, we laugh." The crews nodded. Across the fleet, the signal was sent. Comms opened. Voices rose. The sound of human laughter filled the void once more. Steady, fearless, unbroken. The stars themselves seemed to echo it. The two fleets met once again near the rim of Orion, the space between worlds glowing with the light of distant suns. The Zarathian Grand Fleet advanced like a storm. Thousands of vessels, their weapons blazing, their formations perfect, moved as one. This time the Empire sought total annihilation. The humans had no choice but to defend, to survive, and to fight. And once more, laughter became their shield. The battle began. Energy beams cut across the void. Dreadnoughts fired with overwhelming force. Fighter squadrons dove, weaving between the explosions while missiles streaked through space. The humans, though outnumbered, moved with unpredictable rhythm. Their formations shifted constantly, striking where the enemy least expected. Whenever the Empire aimed to crush them, the humans were gone, appearing elsewhere, leaving only the sound of their laughter behind. It was terrifying. On the Vanguard Eternal, Lord Valen's voice was harsh. "Press forward. Crush them. Silence their voices." But inside his ships, the soldiers whispered. Fear had begun to creep in. Not fear of death, not fear of weapons, but fear of something unseen, the courage, the unity, and the defiance of a species that laughed in the face of the Empire. The humans fought not just with ships, but with spirit. Every maneuver, every strike, carried confidence that unsettled the enemy. Every time a human ship survived impossible odds, every time a squadron escaped certain destruction, the laughter spread through the comms, touching even the farthest ships. Doubt grew like a shadow. At a crucial moment, a squadron of human fighters feigned retreat. The Empire's vessels pursued with confidence. They believed victory was certain, but then the humans split apart, leading the Imperial fighters into a narrow asteroid field. The Zarathians hesitated, their formations disrupted. Some collided with asteroids, others were ambushed from hiding positions. The human pilots emerged from the chaos unscathed, laughing over the comms. It was not cruelty. It was mastery. It was spirit. On the bridge of the Resolute Dawn, Hale observed the skirmish with a calm eye. "See?" he said to Lin. "They think victory is numbers. We make it something else. We make it courage." The laughter continued, and the Empire's soldiers began to falter. Whispers ran through the Grand Fleet. "What do they know? How can they laugh like this?" Even Lord Valen, proud and unyielding, felt the first prick of fear in decades. Hours passed. The humans, though outnumbered, inflicted losses far beyond what the Empire expected. Dreadnoughts burned, cruisers collapsed under ambushes, fighter squadrons were cut down. Yet the humans endured. Their laughter never wavered. It rose through comms, filling the void, reaching every corner of the battlefield. To the Imperial soldiers, it was maddening. It was impossible. It was something they had never faced before. And then it hit them. The Empire could destroy ships, could destroy weapons, could destroy lives, but they could not destroy laughter. They could not destroy courage. They could not destroy a spirit that refused to bow. Finally, the Zerathian forces began to retreat. Not all at once, but slowly, hesitantly. Each step backward was accompanied by growing doubt. Every soldier felt it. Every captain felt it. The humans had done what no army had ever done before. They had made the mighty fear not by power but by unbroken spirit. Hale ordered the fleet to hold their lines. They could have pursued, but they did not. They had fought well. They had survived. And their laughter had won the day. The grand fleet of the Empire limped away, leaving the humans in control of the battlefield. In the aftermath, the human fleet gathered near a small moon. Crews celebrated quietly, not with arrogance, but with relief. Ships were patched, systems checked, and orders given. Hale stood on the bridge, his hands clasped behind his back. "They will return," Lynn said softly. "They might," Hale replied. "But they will remember this. They will remember that courage cannot be destroyed, that laughter cannot be silenced, and that even the mightiest empire cannot crush the spirit of a free people." Across the fleet, the sound of laughter rose again, warm and steady. It was not mockery. It was life. It was victory. Back in the Spire of Command, Emperor Kalinar and his advisors reviewed the reports. They had underestimated humanity, and it had cost them dearly. The Grand Fleet had survived, but pride had been shattered. Confidence had cracked. And whispers continued to haunt the halls. They laughed. They were not afraid. They survived everything we threw at them. The Emperor's face was unreadable. "We underestimated them," he said quietly. "Perhaps we misjudged a species that values spirit over steel. Perhaps the galaxy has changed." The generals nodded reluctantly. The lesson was clear. Power alone was not enough. Fear alone could not command. The humans had taught the Empire a lesson older than any star. Courage, unity, and spirit were weapons stronger than any fleet. And so, the galaxy took notice. Stories spread across star systems, of humans who arrived in the black of space, who laughed at an empire, and who survived impossible odds. Their laughter became a symbol of defiance, a warning, a legend. From that day forward, the Zerathians approached humans with caution, respect, and sometimes unease. They had learned that strength was not measured only in ships or weapons, but in the hearts of those who wielded them. And the humans, they continued their journey among the stars, laughing in the face of danger, unbroken, unyielding, and always alive. For in their laughter, they carried something no empire could take, the spirit of humanity. The galaxy would never forget the day the human fleet arrived, and the day their laughter changed everything. The Galactic Empire stretched across the stars like a shadow without end. For centuries it had ruled the galaxy with power, order, and fear. Its fleets were vast, filled with warships that could burn planets, and its armies were disciplined beyond measure. Every species that resisted had been crushed, their worlds added to the Empire's endless domain. Now, far on the edge of known space, the Empire's scouts had discovered a new planet. It was small compared to many others, covered in blue oceans and green land. Its name, spoken by its people, was Earth. At first, the Empire thought little of it. Humans seemed primitive by galactic standards. Their ships were slow, their weapons crude, and their technology far behind the central worlds of the Empire. Yet something about them disturbed the Imperial leaders. Reports described humans as bold, reckless, and strangely cheerful even in danger. They laughed in situations where no other species would. The High Council of the Empire gathered in the Great Chamber of Stars to discuss this new species. Around a giant table floated the holographic image of Earth, spinning silently. Admiral Serac, tall and armored in black steel, spoke first. His voice was sharp and heavy. "These humans are not advanced, but they are dangerous in another way. Our scouts report they fight with a strange spirit. They smile in battle. They laugh at threats. No species should behave this way." An old scholar, bent with age, adjusted his robe. His skin glowed pale under the lights. "It is a sign of weakness," he said slowly. "Laughter means they are not serious. A warrior who laughs at war will fall easily. Their joy is a mask for fear. But another commander shook his head. Or it is something else. Perhaps it gives them strength. Their jokes spread through their armies, and instead of fear, they feel courage. If such a trait spreads, it could infect others under our rule. The council chamber grew quiet. The empire was built on obedience and control. Fear was the tool that kept its subjects loyal. If a new species could resist fear, if they could meet terror with laughter, then the foundations of power would be threatened. Emperor Vera, ruler of the galaxy, sat upon his throne, cloaked in silver and gold. His eyes glowed with cold fire. "Enough," he said. "It matters little why they laugh. What matters is this: no one may defy the Empire. We will not allow seeds of rebellion to grow. Prepare the fleets. Earth shall be ours." Across the stars, massive starships began to move. War factories forged new weapons, and armies were called to arms. The Empire prepared for war. On Earth, news of the Empire's discovery reached the world's leaders. At first, many thought it was a joke. The idea of an interstellar empire targeting their planet seemed like a story from a science fiction movie, but soon the truth could not be denied. Strange signals filled the skies. Scouts had been sighted near the outer colonies of Mars and the Moon, and fragments of alien technology proved the danger was real. In secret bunkers and halls of power, human leaders met. They studied reports, images, and messages intercepted from the Empire. Some were afraid, some were angry, but above all there was a strange mood in the room: humor. The president of a great nation leaned back in his chair and said with a grin, "So, the galaxy's biggest empire is scared of—" "What, our laughter?" The generals chuckled. One of them tapped the table and replied, "Well, we can give them plenty more of that." Even in the face of danger, jokes filled the air. It was not that humans did not understand the risk. They knew the Empire's fleets could crush cities and burn skies, but fear alone was useless. Instead, they chose to face the storm with smiles. In military camps, soldiers trained harder than ever. They pushed their limits, preparing for battles in space and on the ground. Yet in between drills, laughter echoed. Soldiers told stories, teased one another, and even mocked the coming war. "Hey," one soldier shouted to his friend, "when the aliens see my cooking, they'll surrender before the first shot." His friend laughed until his sides hurt. Another added, "No, they'll beg for peace once they hear you sing." These small moments carried great meaning. Where other species might drown in fear, humans lifted each other with humor. It was a shield for the mind, a reminder that no matter how dark the night, light still existed. Reports of this strange behavior reached the Empire. Spies hidden on Earth listened to human soldiers and civilians. They sent messages back to their commanders. The humans do not tremble. They do not bow. They smile. They laugh. They make jokes about the war. I do not understand them. The Empire's scholars argued over the meaning of this. Some still claimed it was foolishness. Others whispered that it was a dangerous weapon, one not made of steel or fire, but of spirit. As weeks passed, tension grew. The Empire's fleets moved closer to Earth, their shadows stretching across nearby stars. Every alien commander expected fear to spread through human society. Yet instead, songs, laughter, and jokes spread faster than panic. On the streets of Earth, posters appeared with slogans like, "Smile at the storm," "Laugh louder than fear," "Let them come, we have jokes ready." Children drew pictures of alien ships with funny faces painted on them. Musicians wrote songs that mixed humor with courage. Even scientists in their labs building new defenses joked about making the Empire's ships run home crying. The Empire's spies were shaken. They sent desperate reports back. They are preparing for war, but not as we know it. Their humor unites them. It makes them strong. We do not understand how to fight such an enemy. In the vastness of space, as the Empire's armadas gathered, one thought spread among its commanders. The humans were not normal. They were not like any other species the Empire had conquered. Admiral Serac stood before the Emperor once more and bowed. "My lord, they are ready. Their weapons are weak, their ships are small, but their spirit burns too brightly. We must strike quickly before their laughter spreads." The Emperor's gaze was cold. "Then strike we shall. Let the galaxy see that even laughter falls silent before the Empire." But far away on the small blue planet called Earth, people were smiling. They looked to the stars, knowing war was coming, and they did not hide. Instead, they laughed because that was the human way. The storm was gathering. The Empire prepared to crush a world. Yet Earth prepared to answer with courage, with creativity, and with something no empire could ever understand. A smile and a laugh. The news of the coming invasion spread across Earth like wildfire. For the first time in history, all nations knew they faced the same enemy. The Galactic Empire, a force of unimaginable size and power, was moving closer with every passing day. Some people expected fear to rule the planet. They imagined empty streets, silent cities, and hopeless eyes. But instead, something strange happened. Humans did not sink into despair. They prepared, yes, but they did it in their own way. And that way was full of humor, music, and even laughter. In a military camp in North America, young recruits lined up for training. Their boots kicked up dust as they marched, their rifles held tightly. An instructor barked orders, and the soldiers obeyed. Yet between drills, the camp was filled with jokes. One soldier stumbled during a sprint, rolling across the ground in a cloud of dirt. Instead of anger, the others laughed and cheered. "Good dive," one shouted. "You'd scare an alien just by falling." The soldier got up with a grin, brushing off his uniform. "If I can't beat them with speed," he said, "I'll beat them with style." The group burst into laughter, their fear forgotten. The instructors noticed this and shook their heads at first. But soon even they smiled. They realized the jokes made the recruits stronger. Where fear could have broken them, humor built them up. Every mistake became a story, every hardship a chance for laughter. Far away in Europe, scientists worked day and night in underground labs. They studied alien technology captured from scouting drones. They designed shields, new weapons, and systems that could confuse enemy ships. The work was difficult and dangerous, but the scientists found ways to stay cheerful. One team painted funny faces on the machines they built. Another group named their weapons after silly things. One missile was called Banana, another Tickle Stick. Why give serious names? One engineer asked with a laugh. If the Empire finds out they were beaten by a banana, it will make history even better. Everyone laughed, and the work continued with new energy. On the streets of cities, life carried on. Shops stayed open. Music played in cafes, and children still played games. People spoke about the coming war, but always with jokes mixed in. In one market, an old man sold fruit. He pointed at a basket of bright red apples and said to his customers, "Buy these now. When the aliens come, they'll want to taste Earth's finest apples. We'll trade apples for peace." The people around him laughed, and some bought apples not just for food, but as a reminder that even in dark times, humor kept them alive. Alien spies hidden on Earth observed all of this. They were trained to study enemies, to measure their weaknesses and strengths. But what they saw in humans confused them deeply. One spy recorded a group of soldiers singing songs before battle training. Another reported civilians painting jokes on walls. "Aliens welcome, bring your own snacks." The spies sent messages back to the Empire. "These humans do not act like any species we know. They laugh when they should cry. They sing when they should be silent. They prepare for war, but they do so with smiles. It is unsettling." In the great halls of the Empire, the High Council received these reports with disbelief. Admiral Serac slammed his fist on the table. "Mockery. They dare make fun of us? They should tremble before our power." But a cautious commander replied, "My lord, perhaps this is their strength. Fear does not guide them. Their humor makes them unpredictable." The Emperor listened in silence, his cold eyes watching the holographic reports of human behavior. He said nothing yet, but in his mind, he wondered if this strange human trait could spread like fire through the galaxy. Back on Earth, unity grew stronger. Nations that once argued now shared resources. Soldiers from different lands trained side by side. A pilot from Asia joked with a technician from Africa, and a medic from South America laughed with an engineer from Europe. "Who would have thought," one pilot said with a grin, "that aliens would be the reason we finally stopped fighting each other?" The others nodded and laughed. The threat from the Empire had given humanity something rare, true unity. One night in a quiet camp on the moon, a group of astronauts gathered. They looked at the stars, knowing the Empire's fleets were somewhere out there drawing closer. The silence was heavy, but then one of them chuckled. "Imagine," he said, "what the aliens must think of us. They prepare giant fleets, and we're sitting here making jokes about their ships." They probably think we're mad. Another replied, Good, let them think that. Madness scares even the brave. The group laughed together, the sound echoing inside their small habitat. For a moment, fear was gone, replaced by warmth. Everywhere on Earth, stories of courage mixed with humor spread. A farmer told his family he would aim his tractor at the aliens if they landed. A teacher told children that their drawings of alien monsters might scare the invaders away. Musicians wrote songs that were both funny and strong, turning fear into rhythm and rhyme. Even when people felt fear in their hearts, they shared smiles to keep each other strong. The Empire's fleets grew closer. Their ships, massive and dark, filled nearby star systems. Yet the humans continued their strange way. They did not hide. They prepared defenses, but they also prepared laughter. On a military broadcast, a general spoke to the world. His tone was serious, but his face carried a small smile. Citizens of Earth, he said, the Empire is coming. Their ships are many and their weapons are strong. But we are stronger in spirit. We will fight. We will not surrender. And if they want to test us, we will answer with courage, and maybe a few good jokes. The broadcast ended, and across the world people smiled. It was not a smile of ignorance, it was a smile of defiance. The Empire's final scouts returned with their last reports before war began. They described human armies singing as they trained, scientists laughing as they worked, and civilians living their lives with humor. One scout wrote in his final message, "They are not what we expected. They are not like others. I do not understand them. Perhaps that is why I fear them more than any weapon." The stage was set. The Empire was ready to strike, their fleets surrounding Earth's region of space. But Earth was ready too, in its own unique way. Where fear could have ruled, laughter had taken its place. Where despair could have broken spirits, jokes had built bridges. Where silence could have fallen, songs had risen. This was the human way. Not to ignore fear, but to rise above it. Not to surrender to despair, but to fight it with courage, hope, and laughter. The storm was coming. The Empire prepared for war. And Earth stood waiting, smiling in the face of darkness. Because that was what humans did best. The Empire's fleets moved like shadows across the stars. Thousands of warships gathered at the edge of Earth's system, their weapons glowing with silent power. For the Empire, it was just another conquest. Another world to bring under their rule. They had done it 100 times before. But this time felt different. This time their enemy was humanity. The first attack came without warning. Imperial destroyers swept into the orbit of Mars, where small human colonies and research stations had been built. The stations had little defense, just a few patrol ships and outposts. The Empire expected panic, retreat, and cries for mercy. Instead, they were greeted by something else entirely. On the comms, human pilots' voices filled the channels. "Look at the size of those things. I think I just saw one ship bigger than my whole neighborhood." Another voice cut in, laughing. "Relax, they're just compensating for something." Laughter echoed across the comms as human fighters launched. They were smaller, slower, and weaker than Imperial ships. But the pilots did not sound afraid. They sounded amused. The Imperial officers frowned. Was this a trick? How could enemy pilots laugh in the face of certain death? The first skirmish began. Human ships darted around, dodging blasts from Imperial cannons. Their movements were clumsy at times, but they made up for it with boldness. One human pilot shouted, "Hey, aim better next time. You almost hit me." Another joked, "Don't worry, they're just warming up. Give them a chance." The comms were filled with laughter, and even as ships were destroyed, the jokes did not stop. Inside the Imperial command ship, Admiral Sarak watched with confusion. He expected terror, not comedy. He turned to his officers. "Why are they laughing? Do they not understand they are losing?" The officers had no answer. They too were unsettled, but humans were not only joking, they were planning. They turned their civilian cargo ships into decoys, attaching bright lights and false signals to confuse the Imperial scanners. One massive cargo ship flew straight at the Empire's fleet, broadcasting a ridiculous message. "Attention aliens, this is Earth's finest pizza delivery. 100 tons of cheese ready for drop-off." The Imperial crews stared at the transmission in disbelief. Pizza? Cheese? What was this madness? By the time they realized it was a distraction, small human fighters had slipped behind their lines, targeting weak points in the larger ships. Explosions lit the sky, and the Empire lost more ships than expected in what should have been an easy victory. Back on Earth, people listened to the battle reports. At first, they feared the worst. But when they heard the recordings of pilots joking and mocking the enemy, they smiled. Songs and laughter spread even faster. Children imitated the pilots, pretending to fly cardboard spaceships in their backyards, shouting, "Pizza delivery for the aliens." Families gathered around radios and screens, their fear replaced by pride. The human way of fighting had revealed itself to the galaxy, not just with weapons, but with spirit. The Empire was shaken. Never before had they faced such resistance from a species so weak in technology. Usually, fear spread quickly among the conquered. But here, fear did not take hold. Instead, humor burned like fire. Admiral Serac called a meeting with his officers after the first battle. His face was tight with anger. "This is unacceptable. They are mocking us, making us look weak before the galaxy." One officer hesitated before speaking. "My lord, it is not just mockery. Their laughter keeps their courage alive. Our weapons destroy their ships, but not their spirit." Serac's fists clenched. He had seen many wars, but this was unlike anything he had known. How could he crush a people who laughed at death itself? Meanwhile, on Earth's moon, human commanders gathered to plan the next defense. Their mood was serious, yet laughter still filled the room. A general pointed to a hologram of the Imperial fleet. "They are stronger, faster, and more advanced. We need new tactics." A young officer raised his hand and said, "What if we paint giant smiling faces on our ships? Maybe the aliens will get confused and think we're inviting them to a party." The room erupted in laughter. Then the general, smiling, said, "Actually, that might not be a bad idea." Soon, several human ships launched with painted symbols, bright colors, and messages like, "Smile, you're on Earth's camera," and "Free hugs, limited time only." To the Empire, it was madness. To humans, it was strategy. The second major clash happened near the asteroid belt. The Empire sent a larger fleet, determined to crush resistance once and for all. As the battle began, human pilots filled the comms with banter. "Who brought snacks? This might take a while. Don't worry, I hid cookies in my cockpit. Save me one if we survive." Even as ships exploded around them, the laughter did not fade. The humor was not ignorance, it was defiance. During the fight, human engineers activated a new trick. They had turned asteroids into moving traps, attaching engines to them. When the Empire advanced, they suddenly found giant rocks drifting straight into their paths. One human pilot shouted, "Incoming delivery!" "One asteroid, extra large, no charge." The asteroid smashed into an Imperial cruiser, tearing it apart. The pilots laughed wildly, their courage renewed. The Empire retreated after heavy losses. It was not a total victory for Earth, but it was not a defeat either. Humanity had proven it could fight, and more importantly, it had proven it could keep its spirit alive. Back on Earth, people cheered when they heard the news. They knew the Empire was far stronger, but they also knew something important. They could resist. And resistance with laughter was resistance no empire could fully crush. In the Empire's capital, the Emperor received the reports with cold fury. "How?" he demanded. "Can a primitive species resist my fleets?" The scholars bowed low. "They fight with humor, my lord. It isn't something we cannot understand. It makes them stronger." The Emperor's eyes narrowed. "Then we will show them fear beyond laughter. Prepare the Grand Fleet." But the seeds of doubt had been planted. Across the galaxy, other species watched the war with wonder. For the first time, they saw a people who did not bow, who did not cry, but who laughed in the face of the strongest empire. And in that laughter, hope began to spread. The first contact in battle had ended. Humanity had survived. More battles were coming, greater and darker than before. But Earth was ready, because as long as they had each other, as long as they could share a joke, humans would never truly be defeated. The first clashes between Earth and the Empire had shocked the galaxy. No one had expected humans to survive even a single battle, yet they had done more than survive. They had laughed their way through it. But the Empire was not finished. It never backed down after the first strike. When one wave failed, it sent another, bigger and stronger. And this time, the Empire meant to crush Earth with all its might. The second campaign began with silence. The stars near Jupiter dimmed as massive ships appeared, larger than anything humans had seen before. They were called world breakers, armored giants with weapons that could shatter moons. On Earth, warnings spread fast. Screens lit up with alerts and leaders gathered once more. Fear touched every heart, but it did not control them. In the middle of the tense meeting, a young officer said with a grin, "Well, at least if they blow up Jupiter, we'll have fewer storms to worry about." The room burst into laughter, easing the heavy mood. Even the general, serious as stone, allowed themselves a smile. That was the human way, turning fear into something lighter. The Empire's new fleet advanced. The first target was not Earth itself, but its allies, small colonies and listening posts scattered across the system. The Empire believed that by destroying these outposts, humans would lose hope. But they were wrong. In one tiny station orbiting Saturn, a handful of humans faced an entire Imperial squadron. The station commander, an older man with gray hair, sent a final message back to Earth. "We'll hold them off as long as we can. Tell the Empire that even here at the edge of the cold, they'll never freeze our spirit." And then, almost as if on cue, his crew began singing a song over the comms, loud, joyful, and full of laughter. The Empire's ships destroyed the station minutes later, but the song had already reached Earth. It spread across the planet like fire, uniting people even more. The Empire pressed harder, sending fleets to choke Earth's defenses. Battles raged in the asteroid belt near Mars and close to Earth's moon. Humans fought with everything they had, sometimes with weapons, sometimes with tricks, and always with humor. One pilot, outnumbered and almost surrounded, shouted on comms, "Hey, anyone know if the aliens accept surrender in the form of chocolate?" Another answered, laughing through the static, "Don't give them any. We're not sharing." The Empire's officers listening in could not understand it. Why would soldiers facing death waste their last moments on jokes? Slowly, something unexpected began to happen. Other alien species across the galaxy were watching. Many of them lived under the Empire's rule. For centuries, they had obeyed in silence, afraid of punishment. They thought no one could resist, but now they saw humans, fragile, unadvanced humans, a species that laughed in the face of the Empire. And something stirred inside them, hope. On a distant world, a young alien worker whispered to his friend, "If the humans can stand against the Empire, maybe we can too." On another planet, an old scholar recorded in his journal, "Perhaps laughter is more dangerous to the Empire than any weapon." The spirit of humanity was spreading, even without ships or soldiers. Back in the Imperial capital, the High Council grew worried. The Emperor sat in silence as reports came in. Humans were still fighting, and worse, their courage was inspiring others. Admiral Serac slammed his fist on the table. "They are weak in body, but strong in spirit. If we do not crush them soon, rebellion may rise across the galaxy." The Emperor's voice was low and sharp. "Then we will show them fear beyond measure. We will gather every fleet, every weapon. Earth will be an example to all who dare laugh at us." On Earth, leaders knew the storm was growing. The Empire would not stop. The next wave would be greater than before. But humans had something the Empire did not: unity. Nations that once argued now stood side by side. Soldiers trained together, engineers shared secrets, and families across the world prepared supplies for defense. And through it all, humor did not fade. In one training camp, a commander told his troops, "The Empire may bring thousands of ships, but remember, we only need to bring one thing: ourselves and our stubbornness." A soldier shouted back, "And snacks, sir. Don't forget the snacks." The camp erupted with laughter, and the commander smiled. He knew that these small moments were the reason humanity had not broken. The turning point came in a great battle near Earth's moon. The Empire launched its largest attack yet, sending hundreds of ships to overwhelm the defenses. The battle was fierce. Human fighters darted among the enemy, using daring tricks and fast thinking. Engineers activated hidden defenses built into the moon's surface, firing massive cannons that shook space itself. Yet the Empire's numbers were too great. Human ships began to fall one by one. It seemed as though the moon would be lost. Then something unexpected happened. From the shadows of space, a fleet appeared. They were not human ships. They belonged to another species, one long oppressed by the Empire. Their voices filled the comms. "We have watched the humans. We have seen their laughter. Today we fight with them." The humans cheered, their spirits soaring. Even in the middle of battle, one pilot shouted, "See? Our jokes are so good they started a revolution." The new allies struck hard, catching the Empire by surprise. Together they pushed back the invaders. For the first time in centuries, the Empire's fleet retreated from a battle it expected to win. When news of the victory reached Earth, celebrations erupted. People filled the streets waving flags and singing songs. Laughter and music echoed across cities. It was not just a military win, it was proof that humanity's way of fighting, with humor and hope, could inspire others. Leaders gave speeches, but the words that spread the most were simple. We are not alone anymore. In the Empire's capital, rage filled the throne room. The Emperor could not believe what had happened. For centuries, no one had dared to resist. Now, not only did the humans resist, but they were also spreading rebellion like fire. He rose from his throne and declared, "This war is no longer about conquest. It is about survival. If laughter spreads, the Empire falls. We will bring everything we have against Earth." Everything. The order was given. The final greatest fleet of the Empire began to gather. Back on Earth, the people prepared. They knew the greatest battle was coming, a storm that could end their world. Yet they also knew something else. They had already changed the galaxy. Their courage, their unity, and their laughter had broken the silence of fear. As one soldier said before the final preparations, "Even if we fall tomorrow, we've already won today." We made the Empire afraid of a smile. And with that, humanity stood ready. The turning point had come. The war was no longer just Earth against the Empire. It was laughter against fear, hope against oppression, and humanity against the darkness of the galaxy. And humanity was not standing alone anymore.